The Ward's Corner Wastewater Treatment Plant is the newest of Clermont County's 8 treatment plants. Joining us today is Dwight Culbertson with the Clermont County Water Resources Department. Thank you so much for being with us, Dwight.
Well, Kathy, it's a certainly pleasure having you here today.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about this plant. Actually, the first plant in this location came online in 1985.
1985. That was part of a work on by a developer to develop the Ward's Corner I-275 corridor. And it was a private development that was owned for up until the mid-1990s when the county took the facility over.
Why did the county need to go ahead and construct this new facility?
This was really part of a long-term planning effort, Kathy, to look at sewer service in the northern Clermont County area. Mm-hmm. It's an area that there are some areas up here that aren't currently sewered, and some of the other areas have smaller package plants that are getting dated, and the thought was at the time was to look through and just see the best way to really handle sewer service. After several studies, they came back and recommended that we consolidate everything in one facility. It'd be one facility that would be state-of-the-art and include a higher level of treatment that was currently available at the other facilities.
So, now, this is a $10 million facility.
$10 million facility. It was completed, actually, it's been in service for about a year, a little bit over a year. But part of what we wanted to do up here, since it was in a residential area, is also include a lot of amenities that you don't typically see in wastewater treatment plants.
I was going to say, when we drove by, I don't know that I would have known that this was a wastewater treatment plant.
Well, that's a good thing. That's the way we would like it, that it would fit into the neighborhood with nice landscaping. And you'll notice when you look at some of the buildings that you don't typically see pitched rows and brick. This is to give it a more of a residential feel. And that we do want to be part of the community.
It's heavily in this wooded area as well.
It is, thank you. And they preserve the trees, so they've done a lot that they can to just to give it a nice aesthetic appeal.
Now, we talk about building for the future. How is this plant poised to handle the growing demands of Clermont County?
Well, Clermont County, we're looking at a lot of the areas that aren't currently sewered. And one of the concepts is to really look at more of a regional concept. That where we do have good locations where you can site a wastewater treatment plant, to go ahead and position facilities there, and then those areas try to bring them in and consolidate the flow, and that way you're able to make a larger investment in water quality and treatment processes.
Now, this plant is poised to handle the demands of Clermont County, say the next 20, 30, 40 years?
Yes, that's right. We're looking well into the future. This was a part of a long-term planning effort.
And you used a lot of new technology here. Let's talk a little bit about some of that. Ultraviolet.
Ultraviolet. That was something that really has been important to the state. A number of years ago, they've encouraged that. In the past, what we've done is we've used chlorine. Mm-hmm. And there are concerns about what happens to chlorine in the environment. So there's been a move really nationwide, and Clermont County will certainly want to be part of that, to where we're using high-intensity ultraviolet light. And that it can have the same disinfectant qualities that what chlorine does. So you're able to accomplish the same thing, but not having to deal with the potential chlorine products that could occur.
There also be some phosphorus enhancements here.
Phosphorus, this is one of those that's designed to remove phosphorus. And again, this is a biological process. Mm-hmm. And so we're looking at the effect of phosphorus in the environment and just trying to make sure that we're taking it out.
As we tape here, what exactly happens at the treatment plant? Could you kind of walk us through the process of where are we right now? What is this physically?
This is the final clarifier, and what it's referred to as an activated sludge wastewater treatment plant, which means that what we're doing is we're relying on bacteria to consume and remove pollutants from wastewater. And they're very effective at doing it. It's a natural process. And what we do is that we just help that process along. Something that occurs naturally that would take weeks to maybe months to complete, we're able to do in 24 hours.
All right, let's back it up a little bit. What happens when it first gets here?
First gets here, what we do is that we have to measure how much we're getting, and we also take some samples just to get an idea of what the quality of the water is coming in. It also gives us an indication by those tests if we have something in there that we don't like to see. We can certainly chase that down and try to find out what may be the source of that. But that's the first part, is just receiving the wastewater. Then it comes into a screening building. where the material passes through some fine screens. We'll take out some of the larger particulate matter. A lot of this matter really isn't treated well biologically, so it's better just go ahead and remove it at that point. And then it goes into the activated sludge process, where we rely on bacteria and we rely on microorganisms to do the work for us.
Is it something you have to test and monitor like on a continuous basis to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do?
We do. There are certain things we can do to control that process to make sure it happens effectively, but really it's a pretty natural process. And so what we do is we try to create the right conditions, and then we turn it over to them. So
What happens when it makes it through the last process here in the plant?
when it makes it through, we have settling tanks, which we're over right now. And if we do a good job in propagating the right population of microorganisms, they settle very well, leaving a good quality supernatant. And then that'll flow to tertiary filters, which are a polishing process we use. And then it's aerated, and then it's ready to be discharged to the environment.
Where does it go from here?
It goes into a stream that eventually will go to the Little Miami River. So it's what's referred to as an unnamed tributary, but it's a tributary to the Little Miami River.
When you first look at this process, when the sewage first comes in, how long of a process does it take from the time it first comes in to the time that it's discharged back, say, into the Little Miami?
23.8 hours by design, so
Yeah.
about 24 hours. It's extended air, and that's one of the defining things about extended air is that it's a 24-hour process.
And how much sewage can this plant handle?
It can handle 2 million gallons a day. So what we did is we tried to look well into the future and anticipate what the needs are going to be in the future. So.
What's the bottom line on this plant? What was it that you kept in mind the entire time when you were trying to bring it online?
When they went through the planning stages, they met with a number of the civic groups and residential groups, and there was a lot of concern when it came through, concern about potential odors. That we did on the headworks of the facility. We contained everything. We also have an odor control system that when we can go ahead and operate that to manage anything that could be a potential odor problem.
All right, it's a hot day in August. Are we going to notice a smell?
You won't. No, it does very well. The plant performs well. The other thing is the process we use too. These are what's referred to as a oxidation ditch. And when you look at the different processes that are available, oxidation ditch is one of those. So it does it very well as far as being aesthetically pleasant, fit in the community, performs very highly, does a good job, and also resilient to varying flows. So it does do that. And you mentioned about other things we look at is the architecture. When you notice that when you look around the facility, we have the covered, which with pitch roofs with shingles and brick, and also look at the tanks themselves. We try to incorporate a pattern on them so that it looks more than just like a tank wall, that has a little bit of feature to it and a little bit of character.
Dwight, I think you're one of the rarest people I know of, because you've built a facility where you don't want people to even notice you're here.
Well, we're very pleased with that, and we just want to be part of the community here in Miami Zoo.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.